Hey, folks, welcome to You'll Probably Agree. And today we have director Adam Rehmeier on, the director of Carolina Caroline, which is coming to theaters, or I should say the Music Box Theater if you're in Chicago on June 5th, this Friday. And there's a special screening tonight where the director will be there to do a Q&A. I just saw the movie, I think 2 days ago, and yeah, it's I really thought it was a great sort of modern, or not even a modern, it's a period piece. It's a Bonnie and Clyde piece. Why did you pick that year for the movie? I guess is the first question that came to my mind. And what year is it that takes place?
Um, when I initially read the script and everything that's going on in the film with sort of the bank robbing and everything, it was set in 1993 originally, but I had just done Snack Shack, which is set in '91. I knew how hard it was to find period vehicles and stuff like that on a budget, for an independent film. So I wanted to move it forward a little bit, and the area that I thought made the most sense was right prior to 9/11, because after 9/11 it's like CCTV is everywhere, and you've got it's probably exponentially harder to rob banks, after 9/11 each year you go than it is each year you go backwards. So we thought, let's try this. The script kind of read as a it wanted to be a 70s road movie, and I was like, let's take that 70s road movie and put it against an early aughts backdrop, and it'll feel sort of retro to people that grew up in the early aughts. They'll have a little fun with it, like having it be a retro piece for them.
Yeah. So why do you think some woman such as Caroline in the movie, why is she attracted to people who are con men? Like what kind of breeds these, Bonnie and Clyde type of characters?
Well, I think everything in this movie in particular is chemistry. And I think that Kyle and Sam, as Oliver and Caroline, have such good chemistry. I think it's our story with her in Texas starts off. She's literally, putting boxes of raisins up in sort of a gas station country store. I mean, it's hard not to be attracted to the good looking guy in the Canadian tuxedo that walks in and scams her boss out of $10. So for me, everything is chemistry, and Caroline and Oliver in this movie, they have it. It's off the charts.
Yeah. Why do you think audiences are attracted to these kind of characters who are the travelers, who are the con men? Like what do you think makes audiences like them when maybe they shouldn't?
Well, it's escapism, and I think that it's attractive. It's a safe way to have a fantasy and to explore it without actually doing it yourself. To watch other people do it, and for better or for worse. But I mean, I think that movies have always been a great place to, for escapism, and I think that that's a it's just that fantasy of wow, I can leave my little small town and this little life I have with this guy and go on an adventure. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think audiences, or do you agree, at least partially, with Oliver's philosophy of the entire world sort of being a con?
I do. I think
Yeah.
that his analogy, and that's a testament to Tom's writing, but I think his analogy of, the fact that when he asks Caroline if she steals a pack of gum from a grocery store, who is she stealing from? It's not from the store owner. It's not from the employee. The employee's on, get paid hourly. It's not from the store owner. That person's on a salary. It's not from, the CEO that runs the conglomerate. It's the shareholders that she's dealing with, and she's stealing a fraction of a penny from shareholders that pay less in taxes on that than she does working two jobs. When you break it down like that, it's hard not to want to get on Oliver's side and root for him.
Yeah. And that technique he uses in the beginning where he asks for change back, but then he ends up shortchanging the gas station attendant. Is that something that like Tom learned and then he put it in the script, or something you learned, or where did that come about? Is that like a real technique that con men use?
It's a real technique, and I think he just chose that out of it. It was used in Paper Moon, but he it is a very popular one. We've done screenings, I've had several people either stand up in the Q&A, or even a journalist or two that has said, "Oh, when I used to work at a gas station, this happened to me like my first day."
Mm.
So I think people look for new blood. They look for someone that they can do this, this scam on.
Yeah. So how did you determine the pace? Did you want to make something that slowly built up to respect the patience and intelligence of the audience, instead of having it kind of be like action, go, go, go right away? Because
Yeah,
it kind of,
I
yeah,
think the total different movie, but something like the Denzel Washington movie, like Man on Fire.
yeah,
It spends a great deal of time establishing the relationship between him and the young girl that he's going to be, paid to be a bodyguard for before she gets kidnapped. And then the second portion of the movie is like how to get her back. Not unlike that, I felt like, because this movie hinged so much on the chemistry between Oliver and Caroline, you need to spend that time with them before things go down and take a darker turn, because you're invested in the relationship, you're invested in the chemistry and the love that you're feeling for them. So yeah, I think that was a huge part of it, because you could expedite all of that, but I don't think you'd care as much in the end if you expedited, just for the sake of like making something feel really quick.
yeah. There was also a whole philosophy that Kyle, or I'm sorry, I'm calling him by the actor's name, but that
Okay.
Oliver, yeah, that Oliver used in the movie, where he was having dinner with Caroline, and he insulted her, and at a certain point she knocked a drink over, and she said, "Oh yeah, well, what was I meant to do that?" And he's like, "No, you were prompted to do that because
Mhm.
society prompts us to act a certain way." Do you think that society kind of like puts us in a certain cage where they want us to behave a certain way so we can act within a system that continually oppresses us?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I see it every day. Yeah. I mean, there's so much control going on. I wonder how much freedom we really have. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So how did you go about handling the gender dynamic between the two characters, where you aren't playing the stereotype of, like, the dumb girl who's being used by the smart guy? Like, how did you actually try to add dimension to them?
Well, I think that, yeah, I wouldn't have been attracted to that version of storytelling first and foremost,
Yeah.
because like not giving Caroline any agency really is boring, and that just makes her. I then you're left with you know Oliver having to mansplain everything to her about the world, and instead of letting her be an active participant, it's Caroline that brings in the idea of banks and all of that. So she has her part in all of this too. Yeah, I like things that are more well rounded.
Do you think it's easy to manipulate people's trust and take advantage of their politeness like the characters do, in the way they pull off a con?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most obvious case is someone like Caroline's boss Charlie in the very beginning, who clearly isn't able to really follow along with the con that Oliver's pulling on him. I mean, I think that people prey on that, and I think that I think if you're a con man, that's exactly the type of person that you're looking for, to kind of play.
What do you think it is about the repercussions of the actions that these con men pull that they don't understand? Like, why do they keep doing what they do, thinking they won't get caught, and then they do it anyways, and they keep making the same mistake again and again?
I think at a certain point you get addicted to the rush. You get addicted to, like, the easy money. It's easier to do that than it is to hold down a regular job. And these are, I think that the framework of this, like as far as what Oliver, how he views the world, kind of what we said before. He it's a in his mind, you're not stealing from anybody real. I think he probably can frame the bank robbing that way too. That it's all FDIC backed. There's going to be insurance or something. No one's really going to lose anything. So I think it's a lie that he can kind of tell himself, and I think that I haven't done cons and stuff like that, so I can't say to like my specific motivation, but I think it's easy to root sometimes for characters like this, especially if it's framed the way that he frames it. Like, look, you're stealing from shareholders that pay less in taxes than you do working two jobs. I mean, that sounds attractive to me.
Yeah. No, I think that's why a lot of people relate to it because, just like Oliver and just like Caroline, they're at the bottom and they're like, well, where's my spot? And that definitely came through in the movie.
People are tired of getting nickel dime for everything, and people are
Yeah.
tired of inflation and prices going up on everything from gas to groceries to electric. Like, when we're told it's going to go down, and it's hard not to root. Yeah, it's hard to not root for people versus like faceless corporations that don't assume any responsibility, or like whether it's insurance companies that do absolutely nothing when somebody's sick and has cancer. I mean, the list is so long of irresponsible behavior.
Yeah. The scene where Hame or Jamie, as he's accidentally called, is assaulted. How did you want to depict how, like, oh, this is the realism of what this life is going to be like if you stick around with someone like this? Like, how did you want to depict like the danger coming into Caroline's character without giving away like what happens in that scene?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the scene with Jaime is like the first little brush where the bubble, if you will, is popped for the very first time. It's all it's all been kind of fun and games leading up into that point, and then when that happens, I think Caroline, you know, is affected for the first time in a way where she realizes she kind of had forgotten about part of this part of this journey for them was to go to South Carolina and see her mom. And it's kind of like she's forgotten about that and gotten swept away in all of the cons and bank robbing as it's escalated. And she's really forgotten what part of the goal was to go off and see her mom. So I think it sort of regrounds her in a way briefly where she's like, you know what, I really want to go and see my mom. And then in the aftermath of that, of seeing her mom and finding her, she's ready to rob the world.
Yeah, how did you want to go about doing that scene where she finds her mother? Because it is not it's not the reunion you'd expect. As a matter of fact, it's like a total nightmare where she comes off as like what someone would expect from like some soulless hillbilly. But yeah, could you explain a little bit about that scene?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, and also too, I think she's optimistic. She's probably romanticized what that reunion is in her head, but it's absolutely far away from what she thought it was going to be. I think, or otherwise, she probably never would have picked this as even something to entertain or do. And I think that that's the heartbreak, that really that that pulls a tragic element, into this story, and gives a momentum shift and a new path for the story to take, that makes it dynamic and makes it interesting for the audience.
So you had some action scenes in the movie. How did you figure to make the chase scenes minimalistic instead of relying on heavy action?
Um, when we were kind of like, one of the things that was going on with this script was, we had a 25-day shoot, and it was very like tons of locations, about 100 locations. So JP, my DP, and I had to like walk. Basically, we had to take a weekend and sort of figure out. We knew we were going to be in Frankfurt, Kentucky, for that scene, which is like the capital city, and we knew that's where we were going to be based on other things. Because when you're shooting a movie, you have to kind of stage it in weeks, like without trying to do too many big company moves. And so we found like some of the perfect locations, but they weren't connected together necessarily. Like, let's say the uh, the hardware store, it's about a half a mile away from like the other things that you're seeing. None of it's like connected together. So we had to basically walk it on foot, uh, beat by beat, and sort of photograph it together and stitch it together and say, yeah, because you need to tell the police in the town when you're doing this stuff to get permission, like what you need to close down exactly. So it was very complex, with a very minimal budget. So we're having to like really walk it and figure out everything shot for shot in that sequence, which we did, and it just took like time that we didn't have during prep, time that we didn't have during production. So we're basically using one of our weekend days. I think we used 2 days to just go through and figure out beat for beat like how that sequence was going to play, because it's very high speed and like a lot is going on. And like of all the things we shot, I think it was pretty complex.
Okay, great. And I'll just wrap up with one more question here. What's the benefit you think audiences have in seeing this movie in the theaters instead of streaming it on their television?
Well, I mean the color and the shot, the design of this movie is from the visuals to the sound is incredible. I mean, our sound designer did an amazing job. Our DP and our colorist, it's amazing work. And I think it just really, even though we're on a budget, it doesn't feel that way on the screen. It feels big and epic, and it's CinemaScope. And I think it's just a testament to this really passionate crew. I'd always advocate for it, but beyond that, the chemistry between Kyle and Sam, I mean, it does something that classic movies do. People walk out of this film and they say, "Wow, I haven't felt this way." You guys are doing what movies used to do, and I take that as a huge compliment. So if you come for the beautiful cinematography and the sound design, but stay for the electric chemistry between two actors in their prime that are just really make this a wonderful two-handed experience.
All right. Well, thanks so much
Sure.
for taking your time. Adam Rehmeier, director of Carolina Caroline, coming to theaters this Friday, June 5th. So, you can go and rot your brain with Masters of the Universe, but then you can actually see something that's a little deeper. So, it's up to you folks, but, we can also see both. So, all right. Thanks so much. And we will
Thanks, Mike.
catch you.
All
Yeah.
right.
Catch you later. Thanks a lot.
Bye now.